Hi everyone, this is another video for my building an e-commerce web application series. So far we have been building upon this architecture. In the last video we saw how to read a data or a product item from the DynamoDB and how can we access it in the client using Amplify library. If you guys didn't watch it, I will post a link up here. Today we are going to do a quite interesting thing. We are going to configure our Elasticsearch service. As soon as a data is added to the DynamoDB or an admin added a product to the DynamoDB table, we are going to enable DynamoDB stream. And then we are going to trigger a Lambda function as soon as there's something in the DynamoDB stream. So here's our Lambda function, which will be triggered as soon as a new item is flowing across the DynamoDB stream. So Lambda function will capture that record, the new item, let's say, and then it will index it in the Elasticsearch service. Now this whole process, that DynamoDB streaming out to a DynamoDB stream, and then a Lambda get triggered with a new item added, and then it will index into the Elasticsearch service, is a complete asynchronous process. So when a user adds, let's say an admin adds a record or a product into DynamoDB, and then he doesn't have to wait until this whole thing happen. So this will happen behind the scene. And the interesting thing is DynamoDB stream and the Lambdas are managed services. So AWS will manage all the complexities like scalability and parallel execution and all that. And we don't have to worry about anything. So our job is to configure a DynamoDB stream with the DynamoDB and then configure a Lambda that will be triggered by a DynamoDB stream. So let's get started. So we are going to do it in a few steps. So as for the first step, we are going to enable DynamoDB stream in our DynamoDB table. So last time, if you can remember, we had a table called products. So we are going to enable DynamoDB streams in the product table. So as soon as any item is added to the DynamoDB product table, it will be streamed out. Then we are going to create an Elasticsearch service inside our VPC private subnet so that our Elasticsearch domain is not publicly accessible over the internet, but only the services within our VPC. And then we are going to create a Lambda function and we are going to associate an IAM role with that so that it can talk to the Elasticsearch service, which is inside our private network. And afterwards, to make the communication possible, we are going to configure a security group in the Elasticsearch service domain and then apply the same security group on the Lambda. And we are going to configure it, allowing the connection to our Elasticsearch domain to any resources that has the same security group. And guys, we are going to do all this configuration over the AWS console. Of course, you can use CloudFormation template to do all these things. But I want to show you step by step, and also it's good to see the actual steps in the AWS console for learning purposes. So let's get started, shall we? Alright, so these are the steps that we are going to follow along. So in the step 1, we are going to create a DynamoDB stream, or rather enable it. And then we are going to create a VPC with 2 subnets and create an Elasticsearch domain inside one of these private subnets. And then we are going to create the Lambda that is triggered by the DynamoDB stream. And finally, the Lambda is going to index an item or a new item into the Elasticsearch as soon as it's available on the DynamoDB stream. So let's begin with the first step. I'm going to my AWS console and go to DynamoDB. In the last video, we have already created a table called products. Here it is. Let me click on that. And in the overview tab, you should see manage stream button under stream details category. So click manage stream. So here we have to define what type of data we have to put into the DynamoDB stream. For example, keys only is only the attributes that is modified. For example, let's say this update call happening on the DynamoDB table. What attributes has been modified. So if we choose this one, it will be added only the keys, those key attributes, right? And the new image is the entire new image or new item that is being added to the DynamoDB. So in our case, we are going to choose this one. And I'm going to click enable. So now anytime a new record is added to the DynamoDB, it will be added to the stream. Okay, that's it. So here's the ARN for our stream. And now our DynamoDB product table is configured with streams. So first step is done. So let's move on to the second step. We are going to create a VPC with two subnets. Why we do that? Because we want to have our Elasticsearch domain inside the VPC so it is not publicly accessible over the internet. So let me go to AWS console again and I will click services and type VPC. Click launch VPC wizard. So we are going to use a wizard to launch the VPC and two subnets because that is very easy. And here you have to choose the second tab, which is the VPC with public and private subnetwork, which is exactly what we need. So there's a graphical representation of that. And then click select. So it is going to suggest me a CIDR block for VPC, which is /16 CIDR. And also this is my public subnets IP range. And this is my private subnets IP range. Of course, you can change these IP ranges and make sure they are not conflicting with each other. Right? You can name your VPC anything that you want. And then you have to allocate an Elastic IP. For that, just select services on top and right click on VPC and click open it in a new tab. So that will open a new tab for the VPC. So make sure the previous one is still existing. And here in the new tab, you should see Elastic IP on the left side. Click on that and click allocate a new address. Make sure it is Amazon pool and just click allocate. So that will allocate a new address. I have already done that. So here's my Elastic IP. So afterwards, come here and do a refresh on this page. Maybe you have to like reset all the configuration you added. And when you click this one, you should see the allocated Elastic IP. So select that and finally click create VPC. And I have already created the VPC and it is this one. Alright, so now that we have a VPC, so in my case it's mjlab/VPC. So let's go to our next step. So this step is also completed. So third step, it's about creating an Elasticsearch domain. So let's go back to our AWS console and click services and search for Elasticsearch service. Here you can select create a new domain because we are going to create a new domain for Elasticsearch, and let's give it a name e by Elasticsearch. So I just type it e by es and select the Elasticsearch version. In my case I selected the latest one available, 6.3, and number of instance in my Elasticsearch cluster is only one, and that is off. Let's select the lowest one possible because we are going to delete it. So I'm going to select T2 small and I will leave the other configuration as it is and then click next. Okay, so the default selection for the network is VPC access, which is the recommended one. And here we need to select our VPC. Select that and you should see your VPC, which is this one in my case. And then we have to select the subnets. So I'm going to select my private subnet. So our Elasticsearch is not publicly accessible, and security group. So we need to create a security group as well. So if you don't have a security group created, so it's better to create a new one. So select services and right click VPC and open it in a new tab. And again go to that new tab and click security group under security section. There you just create a new security group, give it a name and description, and select the VPC. So this is the VPC that I want to create it for. Select that and then just create it. Afterwards come back to the Elasticsearch window and then search for the security group. If it is not available here, do a refresh. Of course you might have to reset it again. Alright, so in my case it is MJLab security group and then IAM role. So there's a IAM role that has all automatically created for us. So that should be it. And finally, in the access policy section, click on this drop down and select do not require signing request with IAM credential. Select this one so we don't need an IAM credential here and then click next. Okay, do the review part and click confirm. So that will start creating your Elasticsearch domain. As you can see, now it is at the loading state of the domain. So it will take a couple of minutes. So I'm going to pause the video right here and come back to you once it is done. Alright guys, so now my Elasticsearch is active and I can view my Elasticsearch with the VPC endpoint that is given here. Why is this VPC endpoint? If you can remember. So since our domain is inside the VPC, it's always connected through a VPC endpoint. Alright, so let's move on to the next step. Now that we have already created the Elasticsearch domain, next step is to create a Lambda and have it triggered by a DynamoDB stream. So I'm going back to my AWS console and go to services and search for Lambda and click create function here. In Lambda offers us several ways to create a function. First, we can author it from scratch, or we can use a blueprint. So I'm going to use a blueprint which already has some boilerplate code to talk with DynamoDB stream. So let me just type stream and you should see DynamoDB process stream blueprint. Just select this one, click configure. So now you can give a name, but let's first look at the code here. If you scroll down to a little bit, somewhere towards the end, you should see the Lambda function code. So this is basically the logic that will be executed whenever a new item is added to the DynamoDB stream. Now guys, we are not going to use this online editor. Instead, we are going to use serverless framework to spin up a Lambda function so that we can maintain it within our Visual Studio Code. So, but we are going to copy paste this code. Let me quickly go to Visual Studio Code and go to our project we've been working on. So this is our project and I'm going to create a new folder. At the root level, I will call it Elasticsearch or ES. And I'm open up an integrated terminal and I will navigate to the ES folder. And now I'm going to spin up a new serverless project using serverless framework. So if you don't have serverless framework installed, go to a new tab, type it serverless framework, and here you go. Select the first link or the second link in my case. Click install framework and then select Amazon Web Services. And here you should see the command to create a new serverless project. Now make sure to install serverless globally first by doing npm install -t serverless, and afterwards just copy that code and come back to your Visual Studio Code, paste it, and we'll change it a little bit. So our template is AWS Node.js, of course, and my path, we'll call it ES Lambda service and hit enter. So that will spin up a new serverless project inside my ES folder. Give it a second. Now it's done. So if you go into the Elasticsearch folder, you should see my Elasticsearch service. And if I click on the serverless.yml, so this is our main configuration file. Now let me take out all this commented code. And I took out all those commented code. So we have only few lines of codes right now. Now right here is my function configuration. Let's call our function ES, and the code for our function is residing inside handler dot, let's call it ES function. So where is our handler? So that is at the same directory, handler.js, and instead of hello I will rename it ES because that's what we just changed it to. So now we are going to change this logic with the blueprint logic. So let me go to our blueprint. Here's our blueprint. I will just copy this content here and replace it inside our handler function. Okay, this looks good. So whenever item is added to the stream, this function will be called, and we can use event.records to get those new records or the items added to the stream, and you can do a loop in those records and then you can access the context or the content of those records. Here record.eventName let you know whether it is created or updated or deleted, right? So if the new item is added, it would be created, and if it is updated, it would be updated, or else it would be deleted. So we are going to look at created events. So as soon as a new event is created, so instead of here logging that particular content, we are going to index in Elasticsearch. Now before deploying this particular Lambda, we have to define the role for this particular Lambda. So what is a role basically? The role says, so this particular Lambda, what can he do? So first, it can tap into a DynamoDB stream and get the stream data and then index in the Elasticsearch service. So those permission has to be explicitly defined as a role inside a Lambda function. So let's create a role with those two permissions and then add it to our Lambda function. For that, I'm going to my AWS console and select services and type IAM, which is Identity and Access Management, and open it in a new tab and go to roles, and I'm going to create a new role. So which AWS services that I want to associate this role? So that is AWS Lambda. Select this one and click next permission at the bottom right side. And now we have to select the services. Now of course you can type in DynamoDB and give DynamoDB full access, but it's always better or good practice to define your exact permissions. So what do we need? So we need this Lambda to read from the DynamoDB stream and also do a HTTP post or HTTP get from the Elasticsearch service. Let's create a policy and define our exact permissions. So I will click create policy, and in the JSON editor I'm going to copy paste this statement. So in my notepad I have this policy statement. Let me just copy this, and in the JSON editor I will paste it. I will put this in the description so you guys can also copy paste it. So it's basically giving or allowing these actions: Elasticsearch post, Elasticsearch put, and DynamoDB getting records, etc. Alright, so let's review the policy and give it a name, e by es lambda, and I will create the policy. So the policy is now created, e by es lambda. So I'll get back to the role creation window again and select filter policy box and tick customer manage policies and do a refresh here. Let me search for e by, and I should see my custom policy here. Tick it and click next tags and click next, and let's give a policy name as well. I will call it e by es role and click create role at the bottom. So that will create my role. Let's do a refresh and search for e by es role. Here it is. So I'm going to copy this role ARN. So that's what we are going to refer it in our serverless configuration file. I copy the ARN and go back to my Visual Studio Code, and I will go to the serverless YML file, and under provider I will type role colon and paste in the ARN I just copied from our role and save it. Okay, now let's add Elasticsearch Npm module and then index that record in Elasticsearch. If you go to Google and search for Elasticsearch Npm, you should see that Npm module here, and in order to install that, type npm install Elasticsearch. I will come to my integrated terminal. Let me type pwd present working directory, so I am inside the Elasticsearch. I will go into es lambda service, so into my folder, and I will type npm init-y to init a package.json file, and here I have a package.json file. Now I'm going to paste npm installed Elasticsearch and type --save, so that will be added and have a reference in the package.json file as well. So let's wait until it's installed. Here you go, and it is added as npm module folder. And in the package.json file, if we look at it under dependencies, you should see the Elasticsearch. Okay, now we can reference the Elasticsearch. So let's go to the documentation real quick, and here's how we refer it. Let me just copy this part and put it on top of our handler.json or JS file. So Elasticsearch require Elasticsearch. Now we need to connect to our Elasticsearch client. So I will add that one as well. Now here as the host, we need to give the Elasticsearch domain URL or the domain name. So where can we find that? Very easy. If you go to your AWS console and into Elasticsearch, you should see your domain name here, and this is your endpoint. So copy that and get back to the Visual Studio editor and replace localhost 9200 with that DNS. Okay, and also log, let's change it to error. Now guys, we have got an Elasticsearch client. So it's time to do an indexing in Elasticsearch. So let's add that logic. Now if you come back to this particular loop, event.record.forEach, and here we can loop through all the records inside the stream. But there's an issue in JavaScript. You cannot await for an asynchronous task. Since this is indexing Elasticsearch is asynchronous task, we have to await it. So we cannot say await do index in ES like that. We cannot await a particular function inside for each loop. So instead of for each, we are going to use a for loop. And let me take for each out and replace it with a for loop. So I'm going to copy paste a code. Now I know I just copied a bunch of code. Let's quickly go through that. So this is the for loop that I was previously talking about. So it's basically doing the same thing, going over the event.records loop, and then it grabs the first record, or it grabs one of the records from the records. We are doing the indexing part inside the try catch block. So this is the try catch. And before doing the indexing, we are going to do a small check because we want to index only the records that are new or that are newly added to the DynamoDB. When you enable DynamoDB stream in the DynamoDB table, it's going to stream all the events. For example, inserting records, updating records, deleting records, changing records, all that. But we don't want to index all those records. Instead, we have to filter out only the inserting record or records that I've created newly, and then do the indexing on that. So this will do that filtering, and here we are using Elasticsearch client to do the indexing. So I'm going to await it because it's a asynchronous function, and I'm going to call client.create, and inside that we can pass the options for the Elasticsearch. Basically, what is the index name? So let's call that index eBuy, and the type, let's call it product. And then we have to specifically mention the ID of the index. So I'm grabbing that ID from the DynamoDB item. This will give out the ID, and for the body I'm going to add an object with ID, title, and whether or not it is published. So with this configuration, it's going to index a record inside the eBuy index under the products type with this body. So we are going to run this logic for all the records that is available in the streams, which are insert or create records. Alright, so that's it. But guys, we have to do couple other changes. So if you go to a serverless.yml file, we have to add one other configuration. Now let me quickly go to our diagram. Now we know now our Elasticsearch is inside a VPC. So that's what we are using, a VPC endpoint to reference it. Similarly, Lambda that we just writing has to be in a VPC in order to talk to the Elasticsearch service. Because if you can remember, our Elasticsearch service is inside a VPC. Now if I go to Elasticsearch service and go to VPC, so this is the VPC ID that is it is in, and this is the subnet, this is the private subnet that we have assigned it. So it does not have any accessibility from outside world. So in order to access that, how can we do it? Whatever the resource that is trying to access it has to be in the same VPC as well. So we need to do that configuration. So let's add that configuration in the serverless file. Basically, we just have to say VPC and then subnet IDs. Now this is an array. So let's define both the subnets that our VPC has. So where are they? In the Elasticsearch console, in the VPC tab, you can click this VPC here. So that will take you to the VPC console, and then click subnets. So it shows all the subnets. So you can just filter out your VPC by clicking here and selecting your VPC. Then these are the two subnets IDs which we need as configuration in our serverless YML file. So let me just copy both the subnets and paste it in. Now apart from that, we need to do one other last configuration, which is nothing but setting up the same security group that we have assigned to Elasticsearch service onto our Lambda as well. So then both of them have the same security group, and then I will define a rule in the Elasticsearch or an inbound rule in Elasticsearch saying that allow all the traffics to a resource that is this security group is assigned if and only if the other resource is in the same security group. So let's do that. So go to Elasticsearch console and select VPC, and you should see the security group that is assigned to Elasticsearch. Now I'm going to copy this one and then I will click into it since it's a link. So that will open up the security group window inside the VPC dashboard, and here it is. So this is our security group. So let's define an inbound rule to this security group. And as you can see, I have already defined it. So what you guys can do is click edit rules and then select all TCP, which represent all the traffics from any protocol, and then select the source as custom because we are configuring another security group. So that another security group is the same security group. So paste it in and then click save rules. So once this is defined, so it successfully says for this particular security group, define another inbound rule telling that all the requests from any protocol is allowed unless otherwise the source is the same security group. Nice. So let's define the same security group for our Lambda as well. So how can we do that? So in the same VPC block, let's say security group IDs and then paste in the security group ID. So I think that's it for the configuration and for our code. So let's do a deployment, shall we? Make sure you are inside this Lambda ES folder. Now let's run SLS deploy. Now before running this command, make sure that you have set your credentials correctly as well. I think we have done it several times in our previous videos. So let's wait until this is packaged and do the deployment. Alright, so it is successfully deployed. Now let me take the function name here, copy it, and I will go to my AWS console, and inside Lambda I'm going to do a search. Then I should see ES Lambda service -dev/ES. Select that, and then if you scroll down it should show your code here. Now guys, we have to do only one other configuration, which is nothing but setting up the trigger to invoke a Lambda function whenever an item is added to the DynamoDB. So how can we do that? So let's go to our Lambda function, and here add triggers from the list on the left, select DynamoDB here. So it will be added here, and it says configuration required. If you scroll down a little bit, here you have to select the table. So in my case it's product. That's it, and then click add, and so we need to do a save here. Do saving. So let's wait until it is saved. Nice, it's saved properly. Just double check if you scroll down a little bit under network section. These two subnet IDs are properly set up and the security group is set up for our Lambda function. If everything is fine, now it's good to go and we can do a quick test. So how can we test it? So let's go to our DynamoDB table and let's create a new item. I will click create item, and for the ID I'm going to add 999 and append another attribute name, let's say DSLR, and append another item, let's say it's a boolean published, which is true. So let's save this item. So now it is saved. So as soon as this is saved, what should happen? It should trigger that Lambda. So let's see if there's a trigger. So I can go to Lambda and click monitoring, and here I can see the logs in CloudWatch. Click on that. You should see one of these entries here. I have multiple entries because I've been testing out a little bit, and just click that. Then you should see our console logs here. Okay, so finally log says so it is successfully indexed this document in the Elasticsearch. So another way to verify that is to go to our Elasticsearch cluster. So let me go to Elasticsearch and click dashboard and do a refresh, and you should see the searchable document count is 1 in your case. So in my case it's 6 because I tried it 6 times. Now everything is properly set up. As soon as a new record is added to the DynamoDB, it will asynchronously index that record in Elasticsearch. Awesome. So that's it for this video. So in the next video, we are going to do a major change in our application. So instead of REST API that we have previously configured, we are going to configure an GraphQL API with AWS AppSync. So stay tuned and I'll see you soon. Thanks guys.